I started as a photographer, first of all. I used to work freelance for a newspaper, local newspapers in London. That's how I started. And when I had my first child, I wanted to tell him what it was like growing up in Nigeria. And I couldn't find books about that. So that's how it all started. All the books at the time were about animals. I love animals, but you know how it is back home. You don't want to tell me that there's a lion in your front room. You know what I mean? That sort of idea. We don't have that, you know. So I wanted to tell him the culture and everything. So that's how I got into writing. I'll tell you this story. It's quite funny. When I first had the idea for e.t.c for Africa, my first book, I thought I'd just write one copy. Isn't that funny? How can you write one copy? I thought I'll write one copy and that's it. And show him what it's like, end of story, and go back to doing photography. And of course, it wasn't like that because my publisher kept asking me to do more books. But I thought it would be just one copy for my son and that's it. And nobody else will get a copy.
How many African children's authors are published and receive awards in the United States? Kids in this country really need to hear from Nigerians, from Africans, because they never get a chance. And it's just a crime that they only hear about Africa from non-Africans. And this is a chance not just to get an inside story, but to realize the power of a Nigerian or of another African children's author.
I've been reading her books since her first book came out. Her first book is A is for Africa. So I've been reading her, I've been following her work for several years. There are two things that I like about them, that they portray a community, they portray families, they portray healthy people, which is different than what you normally see in the media when you hear about communities in Africa. Her photography is exquisite. So often what we see is not as beautiful or as loving as her photography. You really see the people, and you see the pride in people, and you see families. And you see families that have come together, that have principles and values, and their lives are reflected in those principles and values.
The first book, e.t.c for Africa, what happened was, like I was saying, I was reading a story. It was about safari, a story about somewhere in Kenya. It was quite a dull story. And then suddenly, I just had an idea. B is for beads. And I thought, what is that? Just a voice in my head. It's, you know, the beads that women put in their hair, but that's the idea and the general image I had. So I quickly rang my mom in Nigeria, because she lived in Nigeria, and I said to her, I have this idea. It says beads for beads. What is it? My mom said, I don't know. But she did say, well, I think you can come to Nigeria. You might figure it out. And that's what I did. Sometimes it's thinking about my childhood, because I think my sixth book, Ebele's Favorite, is to do with the games I played as a child. So sometimes it goes back to what I used to do as a child. Sometimes it's just watching children, the way they move, or what they say, and it triggers off an idea in my head, or conversations people have on buses might trigger an idea to write a book, yes. I was washing up one day, and you know, it can be quite boring, washing the dishes, and suddenly, this voice, it was very clear, like somebody on my left ear saying to me, my grandfather is a magician. And I thought, what's that? What does it mean? And I wrote it down and still didn't know what it meant, but that was more difficult one, because I still didn't know what it meant until I kept writing it over and over again, the title. Then it became a book.
It's important for each of us to hear the voices of Africans that are not distilled, that are not coming through what someone else said, someone who is not African, someone who is not Nigerian. She doesn't represent all of Africa, she represents a particular community, and to have that directly from that person, when you hear that person's voice and hear that person's experience, you're getting it straight. You're getting their experience. You're not getting me as an African American telling about somebody's experience. You're hearing her voice. And those voices are the voices that we don't hear in the news. We don't hear them in our literature often, unless you go after that particular voice.
Why do I like her books? Because it brings things real close to kids, There are photographs, and they're photographs of people, and they're close-up photographs of people, and it's people through whom kids will identify with another place. They go, oh, I like that game, or I do that, or oh, that's different, but I'm interested because they're doing that, and they're happy, and they're good, and they're natural, and they're normal.
I think perception is really interesting. I think what she portrays can change the perception of Africa, but I think the perception of Africa, the change has to come from inside the person who's reading it. But what she presents can make you think and reconsider the assumptions that you have. But the change has to come from the person.
I don't think any one thing can change kids' misperceptions, but I think this is a great leap forward. I think this is a wonderful way to do it. And that's why I love the power of the photographs together with the spare writing.
I went out of my way to photograph this family, and that's one of their nannies, you know, and let me see if I can find the page where that's him messing around playing with his siblings. So I just wanted so much to capture a different type of, you know, the city life in Addis Ababa, and then a middle-class family, you know, and then here you can see the boy, you know, with his toy car and his sister pushing him. So I wanted to show that. So it's not just village life, you know. There are other, and also when I set one of my books in Ghana, you can see this family is a middle-class family, and this is their house, and the girl is preparing for her grandmother to visit, and I'll just turn some pages and show you where. Let me just show you where the child was trying to impress the grandma. Wait a minute, I think it's over here. I'm trying to show the grandma many things she can do, like playing with her toys, like her doll, and ironing with her toy, ironing board, you know, things that children do over here too. And so I wanted to show that children do have toys in Africa too. It's not just, you can see them playing, trying to show her grandma that she can play football too, ride her bike, and read her book, counting book. So that was why the whole idea of this.
I chose this one because I have two friends who are from Nigeria who got married, and they talked about their wedding, and I just thought it was so cool, you know, the traditions that they had. My best friend, actually, she lived in Africa, she lived in Cameroon, and she teaches second grade, and so I thought that she would like to maybe use this one with her students and talk about her experience in Africa and then help them, know more things about it.
These are the future teachers of the United States, and for them to get excited by a Nigerian children's author, to see the potential, the capacity.
It will broaden their understanding and their knowledge, and that is absolutely crucial, to broaden someone's understanding of the world. Too often, young people who are beginning teachers at this moment have lived lives that are very sheltered. And if you look at the population that was there, the graduate students there, they may not have had direct experience with people of color, people from Nigeria, people who are African, so that the more exposure they get, the more experience they have, the more they can bring into their classrooms. People tend to bring into their classrooms what they know. And if she can expand what they know, it will enrich their experience and in turn enrich the experience of their students.
I like that it's really informational text, it's not fiction, and it's about another culture, which is something that our students need.
The cultural differences that are out there are made aware to students, which is really great because sometimes it's not.
Do you know, it's been a shock. For instance, like I was saying to you, I thought initially the one book just for my son. I didn't realize I'm writing for everybody in a sense, especially in London. There seem to be many white British children really want to know more about Africa. They're hungry about Africa. And then they want to buy the books or they ask questions when I go and visit schools. So it's been quite very positive. Because as you know, in Africa, anytime you hear about it, it's always about the famine, about wars and everything. But to hear about Africa from normal everyday life of people going about going to schools or whatever, so it's been really positive. Yeah.
What I hope is that when children in the United States, children in Boston, see her books, read her books, they will look and they will find connections with their own experience as versus disconnection. So too often children, when they hear the word Africa, they don't necessarily, they distance themselves as versus connect. And I'd much prefer to hear what I heard from students many years ago, is when they saw the landscape of Africa, they said, oh, this reminds me of my own country. So that it looks like something that they come from and something that they love.
At one school, the teacher of the little kids said to me, this is the best event the kids will have all year. And here we are only in October. This is a teacher who I guess knows. So they'll just have a little bit more openness and not curiosity, feeling connected. Ifeoma asked in one class this morning, she said, what are your favorite foods? Well, there was carrots, mashed potatoes, chapatis, all of these different things. And then she started talking about what Nigerians like for food. And so it's just part of this world that we all share. Everybody eats, everybody has favorite foods. And so that's what's going to be left with the kids. They're going to feel a connection that they didn't know. And for the teachers, I think, and the ed students, I think it'll be the same kind of thing. That's the way I feel.
Oh, it seems so wonderful, honestly, because when I'm taking photos, I'm on my own, scouting, going to look for where to do this photograph, and not knowing, I don't pause to think, would someone like it? I just go from the heart. And also when I'm writing or when I have ideas, and then to suddenly be given awards or recognition and being interviewed or anything like that, or go and visit school, it's wonderful, to think about the kind of recognition. I didn't do it for that, so it's great to have that. I think it's when I read to children, when they come up to me and say to me, I like your books, or the pictures you've taken, or ask questions about it. I think to me, that's been really wonderful.